Vlog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Listen, learn, live. Visit us at Yahowah.com.
Well, here you can see we're back out in the ocean studio. I was getting libraryophobia with as many consecutive programs as we had in the library studio. We just had to branch out a little bit. And here we are with our first focus on the vlog with the Lion King. And if he is the Lion King, then I need to know, why is he so shitty at it? You know, his last preposterous lie, well, I'm sure it wasn't his last, but the most vocal, was on Friday. You recall him a week ago now. He was saying, oh, yeah, man, we have been negotiating with the Iranians. They've been begging for a negotiation. And then he not only claimed that they were begging for a negotiation and that he was negotiating with them and that there was a big meeting to finalize the final negotiation on Monday. Oh, all day Monday, that's where we're going to be meeting. We're going to finalize that negotiation. Then he come out and said, and they have agreed to open up the straits without any tolls or charges. They have agreed to completely relinquish all of their refined uranium. They'll never have a bomb. They have agreed that they don't want any of the money that we have frozen. There'll be no reparations. That is the agreement. And you're going, you piece of shit. I mean, not a word of that is true. You're sitting in the Oval Office of the United States and you're lying through your fangs. What in the hell is wrong with you? And you've got this whole audience holding up microphones, and you've got the Trump tookish talkers saying, oh, wow, see, he came through in the end, man. Our guy, he has the deal. They have finally surrendered. He showed them a little American muscle, and they capitulated. And, you know, you hear this and said, oh, come on. I mean, there's zero chance of this, but, you know, I'll go through the motions anyway. I'll go and see what are the Iranians saying. And the Iranians were all saying, no, we're not negotiating with them here. We're not negotiating with them there. We're not playing telephone with them. They call, we do not answer the phone. We are not calling them. We do not want to negotiate with him. We do not trust him. He is the Lion King. No.
Yeah, the only thing missing was get the Zarowa 4 back in theater so we can put that big mission accomplished banner on it and have him say, you know, we got a deal. The strait is open.
Deal.
See?
Yeah, we got a deal. He would step on the aircraft carrier, except for the fact that the sailors would probably all kill him. You know, they've been out there for now months. They had to bring the newest carrier back, the Gerald Ford, because the toilets didn't work and the laundry went up in flames. And so it's in dry dock for the next couple of 3 years while they fix the toilets, and quite a warship, huh? And the laundry. But the two carriers that are deployed, with those two carriers, they're completely out of decent food. They're out of just basics for the sailors. I mean, there's no toothpaste on the damn aircraft carrier. The life is so miserable for them without any supplies, and they have been bobbing up and down in the heat and humidity of the Arabian Sea there. It's just actually inhuman what we're doing to them. And then he sent all those special forces over and never did deploy them. I mean, what in the world is wrong with this piece of shit? He is such an obnoxious fool. Well, I know what's wrong with him. He's demon possessed, but anyway, the people are making fun of him now.
That's the one thing the Navy's supposed to do is feed the sailors well, right? That's the whole meme about why you go into the Navy is for the food. But they're screwing that up.
They can't even do that right. No, and you know, I hear this. The reason there's so many memes right now with the new hairdo is that he shows up one morning and it's really thin. I mean, it's looked like he's going bald. And by afternoon, he's, you know, coifing the curly locks. And, you know, I'm here to tell you that, you know, I got a haircut 3 or 4 days ago, you know, that my wife took the scissors to it. And I did not gain hair in the process. I can assure you that is not how it works. So, you know, he's so egomaniacal. He's now faking his own hair.
The one thing that it was trademark, right? The one thing that you thought that was somewhat real about the guy is now 100% fake.
It was, yeah, his weird hair. It's of course fascinating that one of the, in fact, I think it is actually the first of mocking things that the prophets had to say about the Toraless one, the great betrayer who is going to be Satan incarnate, is they say that he has goatish hair. So it just fits the man so perfectly. They say he's going to be in a wheelchair because, of course, this is the man with cankles and with furs. They say he's very old, long in days. They say he's egomaniacal. No, that fits this man. They say he's sexually perverted. They say he's a psychopath and his destructive tendencies. But they began with the goatish comb over hair. And Ezekiel, it even has him as a real estate developer that is copper colored. So we call him the Copper Con. So they certainly nailed him, and in a fun way, too.
Yeah, wasn't it Yasha'yah that talks about the people of Tarshish, being the United States, about how focused they are about shaving and having no hair and things like that, and then their leader is all about the hair guy, it's kind of an interesting dichotomy.
It is. The Isaiah 18 talks about this nation that projects its force by the sea, has whirling wings with helicopters and airplanes, and is boisterous and demanding, heavily drugged, and it tries to project its influence all over the world and is disastrous for Israel. All right, so here we have what we have found, evidence that Hamas tunnels were underneath the hospitals. And they do a nice job here with they basically are showing here. We've had this evidence for some time, is that the main hospital, I think it's Khan Yunis, and they show you a picture of the emergency entrance and all that. And 20 feet from the emergency entrance, exactly in front of the hospital, is the entrance to the tunnel. And then they show the drones go all the way through the tunnel, and there's meeting rooms and armory rooms and sleeping rooms and the like for Hamas. And so the a-holes that want to condemn Israel for defending itself, say you're destroying hospitals, you're so mean, and you're killing little babies. Well, it was the Muslims that chose to use hospitals as their armories and their headquarters for meeting, because they knew that that Israel would have to destroy them to defend itself, and then they would be able to blame Israel for being mean, when in fact the people who were being immoral were the Muslims. So what are you going to say now for yourselves, Marxists and Muslims who wallow all over yourselves and trying to condemn Israel for being wrong, when you've got Muslims using hospitals as places to conduct terror?
Yeah, and this was all about, they were talking about the editing. I mean, their big point was, well, hey, there was a cut there, so they could have placed that gun in the place, and they could have edited where the tunnel came from. And so Israel says, okay, well, here's the whole uncut thing. Now what do you say?
Here's the whole uncut thing.
Yeah. 4 minutes of video, the whole uncut. Now what do you say, right?
Now what do you say? Yep. All right, remember this fellow, he's Mr. Charisma, a professor that is Robert Pape. He's right on his money again. This is an interesting bit. I think it's worth listening to. Go ahead and play it.
That's what you saw with the MOU. For almost 48 hours, President Trump signed the MOU on June 17th. He said he did it because the world's economy was going to go off a cliff in a few weeks. And it appeared as if he owned the loss, the strategic defeat. But within days, he was undermining the very MOU that he had just signed. He undermined Article 1 with sending his Secretary of State Rubio to make a framework accord with the government of Lebanon that completely violates Article 1 of the MOU. He started to undermine Article 5 of the MOU, encouraging ships to bypass Iran's control and the channels that it wanted to control in the Strait of Hormuz, and there were other areas as well. This is just reflecting that President Trump is stuck in an escalation trap where owning the loss is a devastating defeat politically and it's for history.
Yeah, it's worse than a devastating defeat. It's if he owns up to the lie, it's catastrophic if he does not. Some of the other things that he didn't mention is that the afternoon that he signed it, he threatened Iran with violence, threatened to destroy Iran, and it's a violation of Article 1. And then he, in violation of Article 5, which he mentioned, specifically, he tried to create a new route around Oman that bypassed the agreements control by Iran of the strait. And so the Iranians said, the agreement you just signed says that we control the strait, and now you're trying to avoid that, nullify it. So, here's missiles to you. And so he was doing everything, including he stopped sending the money that America had stolen from Iran to Iran. He made the first two dispatches of funds and then stopped sending the money. So he reneged on that condition. And then after agreeing to send $300 billion in war reparations, he stopped sending the money. He violated the agreement every which way that he had signed. And then he had the audacity to blame the Iranians for violating the agreement that he violated every way from Sunday. So,
and then he tries to toss it off on Israel. I mean, Israel's going to screw up this whole deal, right? Because they're defending themselves from Hezbollah. Well,
it wasn't him saying that as much as it was his minions, both Rubio and particularly J.D. Vance, when Israel said, this is a really horrible deal. You just surrendered, and we're more vulnerable now than we were before. Boy, we just completely went white screen here, Rich. I don't know what you've got, but I can't see a thing.
The feed's good. I can see you and hear you.
Okay,
fine,
well, good. I'll keep talking, but I can't see anything, which means, okay, well, we're trying to get a little better here. All right, so you had J.D. Vance, when Israel complained, to correctly say that that agreement was far worse than America was before the war started. It was complete capitulation by the United States. Then J.D. Vance said, you should not complain about anything Donald Trump does. He's your only friend in the world. America supplies all your weapons. Everybody else in the world hates you, so just sit down and shut up and kiss our ass. And that was a pretty awesome statement for someone to make in the United States when you use Israel as a proxy to go and bomb a country, and then you throw your ally under the bus, which is what America does routinely. And then a few days later, J.D. Vance went on Joe Rogan's show and said that the influence of Israel in the U.S. government is way too overwhelming. And then at the same time, they're saying that Israel had no influence over Trump. So it was really just a quagmire of BS that swirled around this. And it just showed that Israel, you need to wake up. Trump hates you. He will give the same rhetoric he does to everybody else that he wants to love him, that he's got your back. But the fact is, he hates you. He hates everybody. That's not uncommon. But you're in a position where he is absolutely and unequivocally going to betray you, because his only way out of this war is to Neville Chamberlain you. That is his only way out. I don't know when he's going to figure that out, but he will figure that out. Certainly the people around him will figure it out, and that'll be it. You will be Neville Chamberlain. Trump will sacrifice the high ground of Israel to achieve some form of get out of jail card with Iran and the rest of the Middle East, where he has completely lost face. All right, so this is a pretty interesting deal. So what they're saying here is that that Russia has absolute evidence, and so does the West now, knows that Russia has evidence, that it was European capitals, France, Germany, England, that supplied the targeting data and the targeting mechanisms for the drones that the Ukraine launched into Russia to blow up Russian refineries and other facilities. So it is Europe that is attacking Russia. So if you're in Europe and you just saw what Russia over the last 3 nights has done to Kyiv and Odessa, and you've noticed that Kyiv and Odessa now have absolutely no defenses, and you recognize that you also have no defenses, and that you were behind those attacks that are suffering, where Ukraine now is suffering the consequence of having made those attacks. So if you're in London, Paris, or Berlin, you ought to be looking for a place to hide.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 1 + 1 equals 2 on this. They are definitely going to send the message that, hey, let's find a VW factory in Berlin that is producing drone parts. I mean,
Right.
let's there's a port in France that is sending weapons. Trying to send weapons to Ukraine. That they'll pick some targets that are militarily viable and just
Yeah, because of the economy in Europe and the energy costs in Europe, neither Mercedes nor Porsche are making cars anymore. So, perhaps they're making drones now, since they can't make anything that has popular appeal that anybody wants to buy. All right, so this is old school. What the Iranian general is saying is that, we know that when we use GPS and we use other forms of guidance systems, that the Americans have their methods of noting that those guidance systems are operative, and they have methods of trying to jam them. Now, what he didn't say is that was the case. It may not be the case anymore, because the multi-billion-dollar U.S. radar facilities that were put in place for interceptors, particularly for the THAAD interceptors, Iran destroyed in the first day of the war. So we don't have any in the region anymore. We're trying to dismantle one in Korea and bring it here. They are trying to do that. But so he said he just went, just for giggles, they decided to go old school. And they loaded maps into their drones. And so they fired these things off with maps and cameras, and they followed the map contours. It happens a lot now. They're doing a lot of that in Russia, where they make drones, particularly they'll equip the Shahed drones and others. So they follow maps and contours, land contours, because there's no way to jam them. You're looking at a camera, you've got a contour map fed in, and there they go. So that's what he's laughing about here. He says, so, we can go old school. We've got hypersonic maneuvering missiles that you can't knock out with your THAAD and your Patriot. You're running out of THAAD and Patriot anyway. So for just giggles here, went old school and loaded in some maps. And there you go.
Yeah, very effective low altitude stuff, as long as you have good visibility. I mean, you follow a rail line, you follow a river, you follow an interstate highway, something big you can see from several hundred feet up.
Yeah, you're not going to get that done crossing Saudi Arabia, for example, but you can definitely do it from the coastline of Iran to these refineries or other facilities at U.S. bases in the Gulf Arab states. So that's all they're having to do, and particularly with Qatar and with Kuwait, they're very easy targets. They're kind of mocking the U.S., just giggling. This is an old story, but it's and I've told it on this program within the last few months, just as a repeat, because the lies are so pervasive. What's called Nakba is the day that the Muslims want the world to believe that they were living as Palestinians in Palestine, and it was the Jews who threw them out. And that is the great cry, the great agony, the great distress, the terrible day, because they were living there happily and the Jews threw them out. But it's not true. It's just like Palestinian in Palestine. It's not true. The fact of the matter is that Jews were foolish. They told the Muslims living in what was now Israel again, stay. You can be full citizens, having full rights of citizenship in Israel. And they honored that promise foolishly as well. When you give quarter to a religion that is avowed to destroy you, that is foolish. But nonetheless, they did that. And about 20% of the Muslims stayed, and they were granted citizenship within Israel. But 80%, those that left because they were ordered to leave by Islamic leaders. And they were told them that any Muslim who stays in Israel and does not leave will become a hypocrite, is the term that they use, because that's the term in the Quran. And that would mean that they are perceived as being a peaceful Muslim. And the Quran says that a peaceful, non-jihadi Muslim is worse than an infidel, and that Allah hates them most of all and will torture the peaceful, non-jihadi Muslim in the hottest places in hell. And so that's how they labeled anyone who stayed. So the exodus of Muslims from Israel was not at the inception of the Jews, but of the Muslims. And they were vicious about it. And they told the Muslims they wanted them to leave so that they could annihilate the Jews more readily. Yeah. So there is a Nakba here, but the Nakba is on Islam, and it's just it's part of the framing of the great lie, pursuant to what happened with the creation of Islam, how in the first 100 years they murdered a third of the Earth's population at the time, 200 million people, plundering and raping another 200 million people. They colonized the world. They imposed apartheid and genocide. And the world wants to blame the nation that didn't do any of those things and was the subject of the victim of apartheid and genocide more than any other culture in human history for doing the very things that those enemies of 2 billion strong have done all around them and consistently for 14 centuries. It's one of the great lies of human history. It just shows how universally stupid Muslims and Marxists are to believe this stupid shit. And it shows you how stupid conspirators are as well. Those that like to blame Jews, you know, the Candace Owens, the Tucker Carlsons, the Joe Rogans now, and all of the others, they're just scum. They have no intellect, no understanding of history, no ability to reason. Ignorant fools, ignorant and immoral fools.
Yeah, and the submission goes so far that it's even, they have no problem killing their own families. I mean, Muhammad started with the Quraysh, right? I mean, it was his own family, his own tribe that he enslaved and wipes out. And
Beni Hashem, baby. Beni Hashem. It's even in Hebrew.
Yeah.
The tribe of the name, the sons of the name. Yeah, Beni Hashem. Yeah, they in fact, the leaders of the Arab world are called Hashemites of the name. So they self-loathing and despicable. Yeah, the first real battle in Islam is the Battle of Badr. It's chronicled in the 8th surah of the Quran, and it's where Muhammad deliberately and purposefully went out to rob a caravan of his own family, murdering family members, enslaving other family members, torturing family members, and just acting like a criminal armed robber and goon. Islam started as a criminal enterprise and never grew beyond it. Those are the facts. They happen to be irrefutable. And if you are ignorant and don't know that because you're a Marxist or you're a Muslim, then go to Yahowah.com, read the 5 volumes of Goddamn Religion. And if you're too stupid to read, which you probably are, push the little mic button and it will read them to you. It'll even turn the page for you.
If we get time tonight on the family show, I want to. Joe has done a Adolf Hitler voice for the Mein Kampf parts of Goddamn Religion, and they are just fun. They're not okay. They're fun. Okay, they are very fun because I mean it is an Adolf Hitler voice, and it gets wound up.
Okay, what he's talking about here is that. once I had taken the entire Quran and reordered it chronologically and set it into the context of Muhammad's life, using the earliest hadith, particularly Tabari and Ishaq's historical presentations, it became obvious to me that there was very little difference between the Quran and Hitler's Mein Kampf. And my recital and my struggle, they are the same. It's why Mein Kampf is still the second most popular book in the Islamic world. And so what I did to prove that point, that Mein Kampf and the Quran are the same message, is I juxtaposed them. I took the Islamic hadith and Quran statements, set them right beside similar Mein Kampf statements, just to prove that while people are willing to accept the fact that Mein Kampf was a vile thing, there's no really difference between Mein Kampf and the Quran and Hadith. So I juxtaposed them in 4 different chapters, probably 100 pages of the 4,200 is that comparison. And so we have talking books now, and we have different voices for the Islamic, each one of the Islamic scriptures, the Quran and the Hadith, and now apparently for Mein Kampf too. Yavol.
Joe, he's always busy. You notice you mentioned
is.
the family page. When are we going to get a family page? And what happens? I mean, it wasn't 4 minutes that
there we go.
The new site went live.
Mm-hmm. All right. You can play just because it's a short little waggle. But I do. Anybody missing a golden retriever?
I think the goggle eyes make it. You know, the Google eyes, they definitely make it.
Oh, the fact of the matter is, according to the prophets, it's goatish, not doggish. So we'll correct the terms. But anybody lose a goat?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe MBS lost his goat. Who knows? All right, so this little bit here is really, really disgusting. I think we should play it, but my comment is that based upon what he has to say, Satan should be embarrassed. I mean, Satan has possessed Donald Trump, but you would have thought Satan had better standards than this. I mean, Satan presents himself as the God of Christianity and Islam and Judaism. That you've got to have some game to be able to fool 5-6 billion people, right? So I would have thought that Satan would have better standards than what we're witnessing from Mr. Goatish comb over hair here. But I still ask MAGA, what's your excuse? Go ahead and play it.
We're taking a lot of oil from Venezuela, and we're getting along great with them. Billions and billions of barrels of oil is coming out of Venezuela. It's one of the most fertile places for oil in the world. And as you know, it was a 48-minute war, lasted 48 minutes. And we paid for the war with what we've taken out many, many, many times. Where have you heard that before? You haven't heard that before. It's the old-fashioned way, right? That's the old-fashioned way. To the victor belong the spoils, right? And we're doing the same thing, by the way, in the lovely Islamic Republic of Iran. We're knocking the hell out of it.
Wow. Wow. I mean, if you're an American, you really should just put your head in the sand and cry. If you're a MAGA, you can't get the puke off your face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
First of all, what he is admitting here is that he went to war with Venezuela, that he didn't do Venezuela a favor and remove a drug trafficker. Because, by the way, the drug trafficking in Venezuela is primarily conducted by the CIA. So that's not something you're going to go to Venezuela to resolve. But he's saying that it was a war with Venezuela, not a kidnapping of the head of state. Therefore, if it was a war, you should have
congressional approval.
And beyond that, you should have the country should be occupied, which it's not. Second of all, he's saying that we're taking billions and billions of barrels. Well, the amount of money that is being claimed is in the $30 billion range, with oil selling at $100 a barrel. That would be a third of a billion barrels, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. And
Not
how would we
billions and
know?
billions.
Because that goes directly into his account. This is
That
not
is
an American
correct.
account.
That is correct. So if it is billions and billions, then it's hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars, and it's not coming into the United States, and it's not going to Venezuela, where they love him, of course, because he's stealing their natural resources and giving them nothing. It's going into his accounts. So now he has billions, hundreds of billions and hundreds of billions that he's just admitted to stealing. And he's going old school, which is that you go to war now, to the victors go the spoils. So you go to war, you rape the country. And the last time that, well, 2 times ago that a treaty was signed in Versailles, the last one was this numbskulls. But the time before that, it was Germany, the United States, Great Britain decided that they would punish Germany for the World War I. And what did they get for to the victor goes the spoils? They got World War II. So if you want to go old school, you're now invoking World War III. Thanks very much.
Yeah, but with a better payback.
Oh, and then he's saying we're doing the same thing to Iran. So now what he is admitting is they didn't go into Iran to keep them from having a nuclear bomb, because of course they didn't have a nuclear bomb before he attacked them twice. So he couldn't go into Iran to keep them from having a nuclear bomb because they didn't have one. And he's made no progress in stopping them from having one. In fact, he's encouraged it. But this idea that he was going in for regime change, nope. That he was going in to whack their missile program, nope. That he was going in because they didn't like those guys having a nuclear bomb, nope. No. He went into Iran so that he could steal their assets. That's what he just admitted.
Yeah, gone are the days of fighting the godless communists. Gone are the days of spreading democracy and freedom to the Middle East, right? The horrible dictator of Saddam Hussein, and we're going to bring freedom to those people, or that they need democracy elected in Ukraine. Gone are those days. No, we're just fucking pirates and plunderers, man. I mean,
are.
It's
join the military, be a war criminal. So those times where patriotic Americans take a picture of these are the heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice for your freedom. Bullshit. You know, you're dead because this man's a con man and thief. You're not dead defending America. You didn't protect anything in America. You enlarged his wallet. What you did was criminal. You know, join the Navy, become pirates and thugs. There it is. He admitted the whole thing. I think he's in Las Vegas, by the way, here, as he is making this speech. But he admitted that he went into Venezuela as an act of war to steal their oil, and that he declared war on Iran because he wants to steal their assets too.
Yep.
And if you can not despise that, you're scum. You might as well just jump in there with him. I mean, crawl into those dirty diapers.
Right.
Put your nose in.
Lots of them are.
You are scum. Now here, the Trump is having a conniption fit. The Washington Post published an article. It's hard to even look at that and not laugh at the hair. But
there's your goat comb over. Right
oh man, there's the goatish. We needed to have that with the goatish comb over hair being right underneath it on the prophetic declaration that this is the person that Christians have been searching for as the Antichrist. He is so stupid. The Washington Post reported that at Camp David, you know, they take a lot of aides and support staff. They go and they had a cabinet meeting at Camp David. And at Camp David, Trump had a tizzy fit, screaming at his Secretary of War, Hegseth, that how come you didn't let me know that we're running out of munitions and bombs and interceptors and all that sort of thing right in the middle of the war. And you didn't even let me know. Didn't you think that was important for you to know and for me to know that we're running out of munitions and interceptors and everything else? And he's yelling at him. And then when the Washington Post, who has all sorts of sources inside the administration, because there's nobody in politics that's honorable, reported what was said during the meeting, Trump came out and did two things. First, he tweeted that it's not true, that we have plenty of bombs and we have all kinds of munitions of certain types. And then, which is a lie. And then he said that he was going to go off after the everybody, which he calls the Washington compost. And he's labeling them all traitors because they revealed what took place in a cabinet discussion. It's not being a traitor. It's being a journalist. And that he is going to jail those that were the leakers. Now, if they're leaking information, then what they leaked was what was in the vessel that came out and they are now revealing. He didn't say they were the fabricators. He's not saying that they were the imaginators. He says they were the leakers. Well, if they're the leakers, then they're leaking exactly what was said. That's how you don't have a bucket of water, and when it leaks, you don't get sand, right?
No, you get water.
You get water. You get the leak. The leak is what was in the vessel. They were in the cabinet room in Camp David. The leak is what came out of the cabinet room. You cannot call people traitors for revealing what happened in a cabinet meeting, particularly if the president wants to say it's untrue the next day. At that point, the traitor is Trump for making America vulnerable by squandering its defenses on a war of choice that he has lost. That's a traitor.
And treason is not something to be bandied about lightly. I mean, to call someone treasonous, that's one of the few things in the United States that still has a hanging penalty. I would call Trump treasonous. He's not treasonous to the United States, to our economy, to our military, to our standing in the world, and to the world as a whole. He's Satan, of course, so he is treasonous. But the very fact that he uses the term leakers he's confessing to the crime. He's saying, "Yep, I said these things, and now I'm pissed off. So I'm going to do what I normally do." That's the story. Is what they're saying is true.
Yes, that's what you're saying. You're saying what they're saying is true, and I'm pissed off that you revealed something true because I was trying to weave a narrative of lies. I was trying to tell you I took a pause because I was peaceful and I wanted to negotiate a solution. And they were begging for a peaceful solution, and you got caught in your lie. You got caught in your lie because there were other reports from the Joint Chiefs of the Defense Department. Well, it used to be the Defense Department, now the War Department, and your CENTCOM leader general that said there is no point in us continuing this. There is no way that we can attack Iran in any way that's going to deliver a different outcome. And oh, by the way, we're running out of effective missiles to fire at them and missiles to intercept what they fire at us. So we need to rethink this. So he stopped for a week, and he blamed it not on running out of ammunition and defenses, but on Iran begging for a ceasefire when Iran said, we're not even talking to him. He's just lying. And then he gets caught in his lie, and he condemns those who actually revealed the truth. That is what you're dealing with here in Mr. Godish Come Over Here, the Copper Con.
Yeah, I was so surprised that weeks ago people were talking about running out of munitions and interceptors and stuff, that these things aren't a state secret, that everybody knows how many of these missiles are produced, who's producing them, how many they are capable of producing. And so it's simple math to go, they can only make 15 of these a year. They've been doing it for 5 years. This is how many they could possibly have. Everybody knows. And I was like, how is that even? That is so dumb.
And all you have to do is look at Ukraine. or look at any one of the Gulf Arab nations. They don't have interceptors to knock down the missiles anymore. And you look at Ukraine, you're having 49 of 50 missiles impact their targets unimpeded because there are no more interceptors. So it's obvious what's happening here. You don't have any more. You can't give them any more because you have no more to give. You squandered it all. Let's go ahead and play this, though, because it is pretty astonishing.
I need my MAGA cult of idiots. I need the idiots to go out and tell everybody that me wearing a wig is, frankly, me not wearing a wig.
That's right, folks. Wiggate has taken the internet by storm today, and the memes that we'll get to shortly are absolutely brutal. Though, not as brutal as the fact that this story belies, which is that Donald Trump will lie about anything from his gender-reaffirming care to something as egregious as the safety and preparedness of our military members, some of whom he's already sent to die in his pointless war in Iran. So, brace yourself for some righteous anger before we laugh our asses off at King Donnie's expense, and help me out by liking and subscribing to Really American here on YouTube and over on Substack. All right, so Trump threw a Truth Social temper tantrum late last night and today, accusing the Washington Post of treason and threatening to jail anonymous sources and reporters over a report from the Washington Post detailing how Trump and Hegseth got into a heated argument at Camp David about our military's depleting stockpiles of ammunition that leave our troops in the Middle East vulnerable and ill-equipped. Which is actually something I covered in last night's video that hardly anyone saw because I made the mistake of leading with the memes. But behind that arguably oversized spoonful of sugar was this medicine.
Our military is more powerful than it has ever been.
But new reports of dwindling military stockpiles are raising serious questions about whether U.S. troops have what they need to keep up this fight and stay prepared for whatever comes next. Reuters was first to report the U.S. Army has used up much of its global stockpile of highly accurate long-range missiles during its 5-month war with Iran. The Pentagon asking Congress for more than $67 billion in supplemental funding outside the regular budget process.
And we've known about this for a while now, but it was confirmed with that report and then also confirmed that Donald Trump knew about it by this exclusive Washington Post article that explicitly states, according to anonymous sources, President Donald Trump's frustration over the Iran war boiled over at Camp David last week, where he demanded answers from Secretary Pete Hegseth on why it had apparently been misled on extreme munition shortages that now threaten to limit military operations with Iran. Something he denied on Truth Social late last night, saying that we have massive amounts of munitions, especially certain types. And then he doubled down and called the Washington Post reporting a treasonous rumor, saying this rumor was started by the Washington Post.
All right, just think for a moment. I want two things. One is Trump is the most litigious piece of shit to ever engage in politics. He has such thin skin, he threatens to sue everybody. And of course, his suits all backfire on him, like the BBC suit, where he's trying to pedal out of that thing as fast as he can bail. There is no way that the Washington Post is going to publish an article on a matter as serious as the commander-in-chief line about the reserves of weaponry in the United States, so that it isn't treasonous to say we're out of them when you've got the president fighting a war that he is losing, a war of choice that he is losing and squandering them all the more while lying about them. The Washington Post has an absolute duty to publish that information, but they're not going to do so unless their source is impeccable, and unless they can verify that source with more than one source. So I can assure you, the Washington Post, and I used to know the Washington Post very well. In fact, back in the days before Bezos bought them, I spent a lot of time with the owners and a lot of time in their headquarters. And I know the publication quite well. They have the highest of journalistic standards. Even though I don't like their liberal bent, you have to respect them for their journalistic prowess. I think it's a better newspaper than is the New York Times by a considerable margin. But since that time, it's been purchased by Bezos. And Bezos is bribing Trump tens of billions of dollars, and in all ways trying to kiss up to Trump because of Trump's not only removal of any antitrust actions against Amazon, which would be considerable, but also all of the government contracts that Amazon is routinely given. And a lot of them are infrastructure and military contracts. And so Bezos is doing everything he can to kiss up to Trump. There is no chance that Bezos is going to have a negative story on Trump unless it is so important that his editorial team would all leave if they don't have the opportunity to publish it. So there is far more to this than just that. And for Trump then to call the Washington Post the compost just shows you how vile and childish this man is. So anyway, I think this is, unless there's more to this that you want to see, I mean, he is a funny narrator of what's going on, but yeah, Trump is really in trouble on this one. And the Iranians are laughing their tuchus off because they know they are long on ammunition, and the U.S. is short on ammunition, and thus far, the United States has done nothing but lose this war. And so Trump has run out of options. He can't invade Iran. He can't continue bombing Iran. He can't defend allies around Iran. He can't open the Strait of Hormuz. He can't do nothing. He can't keep them from completing their bomb. He can't keep them from refining uranium. He can't do anything. He is completely lost. And even when he signs a memorandum of understanding, he has to violate it because it's so destructive to his popularity and his credibility.
Oh, it's an absolute the emperor has no close moment, not just for Iran, Russia. They know what's going on, and they have known. And with regards to Ukraine.
Why do you think Russia is sending so many missiles and drones into Odessa and Kyiv right now? And they can count. Let's see. 3 nights in a row, we've had 0 intercepts. I wonder what the status is of their interceptor supply. We could use now bottle rockets, and we could hit every one of these targets because they've got no means of stopping it. And so China
knows for when it comes to Taiwan, and that they have known for a long time, but it's real now for everybody.
What this means is that the President of the United States has destroyed the credibility and the defensive status of the United States. He has put the United States in a position where anybody that wanted to harm the United States now has the ability to do so without impunity. Russia could destroy the United States could do nothing about it. China could do the same thing, and Iran is doing that same thing.
And even to the allies, this sends a signal to MBS. We can't keep your little, fiefdom with a flag company anymore. Everybody in the middle, everybody knows. I mean, everybody knows the bargaining in NATO, everything. Yeah.
Okay. So Zelensky is telling Trump, evidently, look, President Cokehead is telling President Poop Pants that not only does Iran need to join NATO, which is the whole reason this war began, and will never end if it does. In fact, it'd be the end of Europe if it does. That it needs to go nuclear, which means that he needs nuclear bombs. Can you imagine what would happen if somebody in the West gave the Ukraine, and Russians can certainly trace their location, that somebody in the West gave the Ukraine a nuclear warhead?
Dead hand. It doesn't even get that far. And Russia launches everything it has. Yeah,
absolutely. They would not wait around to see where they're going to deploy it. It would just be absolutely over. Now, would they be restrained enough to only nuke the country that gave them the nuke and Ukraine? Perhaps. Perhaps they might be so restrained, but whatever country it was, Germany, France, the UK, whatever country it was, kiss your tamales goodbye.
Yeah, I don't think so, because the way it all happens strategically is that everybody has to go. Otherwise, you're the last man out. Because if somebody is restrained and says, I'm not going to hit this country over here or this population or whatever for whatever reason, they're now on top of the pile, right? And they weren't your friend to begin with.
Yeah, yes and no. Yes and no. You know, I am not convinced that the United States, if somebody in Europe, the UK, for example, were to give the Ukrainians a nuclear warhead, and the Russians were to respond by taking out with a nuclear response everything pertaining to the area and the command and control structure of that, along with the UK base that held that warhead that transferred it. That if the Russians limited their response to those two things, I do not think the United States would respond, because the United States says, well, if we respond, then we have committed suicide. It is over for us. Yes, we could probably take out Russia, but it is over for us. So I don't think the United States does that. That's been my contention for some time. I don't think it does under any circumstance. Well, I can't say under any circumstance. The one circumstance that they do it is that we continue to turn over more and more of the military control and targeting to AI.
Yes, that was, and things that used to be able to happen within a phone call with intercontinental ballistic missiles now are now hypersonic. There's no time to make that phone call to say, "Oh, hey guys, this is a one and done strike on UK for There's no talk about it. It's everything is go.
Yeah, and the Russians now have two devices whereby the United States just can't play anymore. The United States is way outclassed. One of them is a nuclear powered hypersonic missile. So the Russians can launch a missile that flies around the United States at super high altitudes for months, and maneuvering and deciding, you want to play, push the trigger. You send one nuke our way, and we have these 10 that are circling you. It's goodbye. You won't even have 3 seconds. In fact, by the time that the launch codes start on that missile and the doors open, which we will see, you're gone. So the Russians can make that response essentially instantaneous because of their nuclear maneuvering hypersonic missiles that are actually a nuclear engine in the missile. The second thing is that they have the Poseidon. They have the new submarine, these super class submarines with the Poseidon, which is a nuclear warhead on an ultra fast torpedo, where the submarine is undetectable and the torpedo is undetectable, and it detonates offshore and sends a radioactive tsunami on any ocean side city. A place like that's low, like Washington, D.C. would be destroyed. Miami, destroyed. Jacksonville, destroyed. New York, destroyed. Boston, destroyed. Philadelphia,
New Orleans, big shipping ports. Yeah.
I don't think they would do us. I don't think they would do us the favor in New Orleans. That would be too beneficial for the United States. I'm sorry, but no, I shouldn't say that. A lot of people love New Orleans. I'm just not one of them. But anyway, I think New Orleans should be a shrimp farm. But that's mean. But I don't understand. I just flat out don't understand why you would spend hundreds of billions of dollars with reestablishing a city that storm after storm takes, that is actually under sea level, and that because you've pumped out all of the water to make it a dry place that you can actually have your city, now it is sinking further below sea level. It's a really insane thing we're trying to do. Move to a higher location, rebuild the city at a place that's higher. But anyway, between those two devices, the United States wouldn't even have 5 minutes to get its act together. And so I don't think the United States responds that way. Now, I can see this a-hole trying to convince the military to do a first strike. Mm-hmm. And he has already threatened to use nukes in Iran. Mm-hmm. So I can see him using nukes against Russia, Iran. He was the one that said he was sending his submarines next to the mm-hmm. coast of Russia, fully equipped with nuclear missiles because he didn't like something that Putin said. So he's very capable of doing it. He's that insane, and he's that deadly and that destructive, that literally insane. So I can see it happening, but not in response as a first attack, yes. Yeah, look how deplorable all this was. When Jordan controlled the old city, Jerusalem, it was ethnically cleansed of every Jew. One of the things that's really interesting is if you read just sidebars. A sidebar is a story that isn't trying to tell the story of Muslim apartheid or genocide. It's just trying to tell another story. The story that I was interested in is the capture and preservation of the Dead Sea Scrolls, starting with the Great Isaiah Scroll. And it was kept away from Jews. And the Jewish fellow who actually tried to track it down and borrow and buy it was precluded from getting anywhere near it because the old city had barbed wire and fences and armed guards and everything because no Jew was allowed into mm-hmm. Jerusalem while Jordan controlled it. And they were perpetrating apartheid and genocide on Jews, and no one complained. Mm-hmm. And now even with Israel controlling Jerusalem, but they allow Jordan to control the Temple Mount in one of the most brainless, stupid deals of all time. And they allow those two scars to remain on the Temple Mount that are Muslim scars. The world does not know Islam. I've written 5 books on Islam, 7 all total, really. 9 if you include the Islamic terrorist organizations and the history of terror, and Tea with Terrorists and Prophet of Doom. Probably 8,000 pages of analysis of Islam's past. And goddamn religion is the most comprehensive, irrefutable, well-documented, organized and presented evisceration of the religion ever written. I mean, you can't read that book and not mock Islam, not recognize Islam as a death cult, that it is a terrorist manifesto, that Muhammad was not a prophet and he was the worst man who ever lived, a pedophile. He was incestuous. He was a rapist. He was a mass murdering thief and slave trader, and that Allah is no more God than a garden snake. And that the Quran is a exceedingly evil book. There's no book ever written that's as dumb, as vile, as worthless as the Quran. And the number of people that know that are 1 in a million. And because people don't know the Quran, they don't know the Hadith, they don't know Allah, they don't know Muhammad, they are prone to believe lies. And this is one of them. Islam is a monster unlike any other. And until the advent of Marxism, there was nothing that could compare to Islam in terms of deceit, destruction, and death. And now Muslims have a rival in Marxists, and they have merged to create the world's most destructive, deceitful, deadly killing machine. Marxists and Muslims are the worst of humanity.
Oh, absolutely.
together
I'm still
they're
pissed
just-
that in '67 they didn't blow that mosque right off the top of the. I mean, you took the Temple Mount. You're in the middle of a war. Well, oops, sorry. That the whole thing just blew up, right? I mean, that was
Yeah.
the time to do it. We have it. Clear off the top of it.
It was just over. Yeah, you take your tanks, blow it to smithereens, and take the mosque and blow it to smithereens. You had it. You won it. It's over. And people could say, "Oh yeah, well, they did. You tried to destroy them. It's the second time you tried to wipe them off the face of the earth. Fair's fair."
You're not going to inflame them anymore, right? You're in the middle of a war.
Right.
They want to kill you. It's like,
Right.
Oh,
you were prohibited from going into your own capital city. And now that you're there, you ought to prevent them from going into your capital city. That was the intelligent thing to do. Jews have been their own worst enemy, though, for a long time. And this is an example of it. They want their enemies to love them, as opposed to they want to separate themselves and protect themselves from their enemy. They want their enemy to love them. That's why they don't expose and condemn Islam and prefer to say we're after Hamas and Hezbollah. But you do that, and you're making it impossible for your people to ever live in safety. I watch video on the front lines of this war probably twice a week just for updates. And over the last month, it has been a rather steady progression westward by the Russians. But what's happened here recently, of course, is the undeterred complete destruction of weapons manufacturing and logistics distribution in Kyiv and Odessa, and that little bitty stretch between where the Russians right now are and Odessa and the Black Sea coast. There really is a very dire situation right now for the Ukrainians. But the very fact that the Russians can knock out manufacturing facilities and distribution hubs of the Ukrainians with impunity using drones and missiles is a very different story than taking those last four cities that are along the border of the front line. That's a horse of an entirely different color, because now you're not able just to take them out with a barrage of missiles and drones. You've got to deploy troops, and it becomes a very bloody thing. And it's what Putin has always tried to avoid. He doesn't want to put Russians in a bloodbath. They were there at the end of World War II. Lost 25 million Russians trying to defeat the Nazi Germans and Europeans. He just doesn't want to do that. And yet there are 5 cities there, the 4 that border the Russian ethnic areas, and of course Odessa, and they all have to fall, and he knows it. So the question is, how do you make that happen? He has negated now the ability for Odessa to function, and he is quickly negating the ability of Kyiv to function, and Zelensky is quickly losing his position of authority in Ukraine, where most Ukrainians want him dead. So, I don't know if Putin is going to prevail with this theme. We have chastised him for not having any cojones. We know that the Europeans are continuing to destroy his refineries and distribution facilities and play havoc with the Russian economy, and he has done nothing to them. And if this is his strategy, I don't need to do anything to them, because I can destroy them by destroying Ukraine, and they don't have the resources to respond to that. And therefore I have my buffer, and I have my lesson that I have firmly taught to them. If this is his strategy, then maybe so. But if he's going to do that, then he has to keep up this strategy for week after week after week. You can't give them an intermission and give them a sense of hope that, well, we can go back to doing what we're going to do. It's not going to fly. So it's just interesting to see how it's going to develop. Most indications are that this war and the Iranian war are merging because they have China and Russia are engaged, and now Iran is engaged in it as well. So you've got them, and you've got Europe and the United States, engaged on the other side, and you've got the same number of weapons that are being depleted, and there is every indication the wars are emerging, and that will ultimately be one out of control contagion. And I think that's what we're headed towards. But we have 7 years to play out, and from God's point of view, that what happens in the Ukraine is of marginal utility to him. What happens with Russia is not of concern to him. What happens in Iran is because he has predicted that the Iranians will send millions of mujahideen into Israel, and that's the ultimate last war that we have to thwart. It's hand-to-hand combat, no effectiveness with the IDF. That's the final war. So he is interested in what's going on with Iran, speaks of it a lot, but not so much the rest of this stuff.
Yeah, I look at that front line, that difference between the red and the green, and how long that is, how far. I mean, it's not like bisecting Ukraine like you would think you would want to go, Well,
no.
It's the longest line you could possibly have to.
Yes,
and
it's moved the border.
It's
moved the border west to protect the ethnic Russians that the United States was arming the Ukrainian Nazis to bludgeon, and so they are now protected. But there is still more to those oblasts, and plus a buffer zone that Russia not only needs but will achieve. And so at this point where Zelensky is saying, why don't we have a ceasefire on the current lines? Russia's not going to do that now.
No, absolutely not.
The time for that is far gone.
And this difference between the red and the green, the map doesn't show it. There's 100-kilometer swath of no man's land. That is a lot of land where absolutely no one goes, because if you pop your head there, you're droned.
Yes, I mean, and also those 4 cities that are along the oblast there, they're not really habitable. They are places where Ukrainian troops are embedded, and Russians are working their way to take them out. But they're not. They're places where people live anymore. Odessa is still a beautiful city. Russia would much prefer not to have to destroy Odessa. But they may have to. Right now they're just destroying the port facility and in any ship that tries to dock there, such that Zelensky is now crying that, tell those Russians they can't disrupt our shipping, because otherwise we're going to go broke. Well, you ought to have thought that through a long time ago.
It's war.
You notice that Crimea is not even in the red anymore. Crimea is down there in the green and firmly attached to Russia.
As much as they want to talk about that bridge, they want to talk about how they bombed that bridge and Putin's prize bridge.
I'm sorry, it is a peninsula, and the Russians can come and go on that peninsula without the bridge. And if they want to bomb that bridge anymore, then I will tell you that when the Ukrainians, with Zelensky's order, decided they would go out and take out Russian refineries and Russian warehouses. And Putin says, oh, well, I'll take out 20 for every one you took out. The response on the bridges would be the same. You take out that Crimea bridge, there are 5 or 6 bridges across the river in Kyiv, where Kyiv becomes essentially an uninhabitable city without those bridges. They'll all go. Russia take them all out. So now what?
Yeah.
You got to be careful. Surrender is the only viable option here.
And they can't even kill Zelensky, because it's like Islam. I mean, it's not like they can have elections and some guy that says, oh, we'll have a truce. It's going to be some general that takes over.
No, they could absolutely kill Zelensky. The fact of the matter is that the overwhelming majority of Ukrainians don't want to be at war with Russia anymore. No, they could kill Zelensky and end up in a much more favorable situation. It isn't the Russians' style. The Russians would much prefer, actually, since the Russians know that you can't negotiate with any European head of state. Mm-hmm. You can't negotiate with NATO. You can't negotiate with Donald Trump. That it's a waste of time to try to form an agreement with any of them, and you can't negotiate with Zelensky because he's not even a leader of the country. So the Russians have recognized there's only one way to resolve this war, and that is to end the war on the battlefield, and they're going to do so. And they're better off if the president of the Ukraine is a nincompoop and is skimming money, and all of his little comrades are skimming money, so that they're sending disgruntled troops that have no interest in paying for their scam with their lives. So it's Russia's best interest to keep Zelensky in power rather than to kill him. And the only time that changes is when Ukraine surrenders and Russia says, all right, but for a surrender document, now what's left of Ukraine, you need to vote for a leader. And when you vote for a leader, then he's authorized and he can sign the armistice agreement. Otherwise, you got nothing. This is the insanity of Israel. He is saying that unless we get what we want in Iran, we get, the regime change, we get no nuclear development, we get no uranium enrichment, we get no threat from Iran, unless we have an absolute assurance that Iran is not a threat to Israel, then we're going to go bomb the shit out of Iran.
With what?
First is with what? Because the United States is running out of munitions, and the United States is the supplier of munitions to Israel. So you do have the first question is with what? And then how would you defend yourself since the United States is out of interceptors? The United States is the source of their interceptors. How would you defend yourself? Those are problems, but the single biggest problem is the insanity problem. You've tried this twice before, and it's blown up in your face both times. So why are you promoting the same scheme unless you want to commit suicide?
Yeah.
Have you watched the pictures of Kyiv recently and Odessa? Have you watched the footage out of Jordan and of the Islamic Arab nations? Netanyahu saying, well, they're not bombing us because, we bombed the shit out of them, so they're afraid of us. No. They're right now. They have a plan for you. And once the United States is out and they're able to execute their plan, they have a plan for you. Prophets have already told you about it. Mm-hmm. And that plan does not include a nuclear bomb. And that plan does not include destroying Israel or Jerusalem. It just is predicated on giving jihadists a direct ticket to Allah by murdering, raping, plundering Jews. Yeah, it's going to be hand-to-hand combat, and you're going to lose bad. So you're playing in the wrong war there, pal. Mm-hmm. Get your head out of your tuchus. Oh, Pierce. All right, so she doesn't look like a very bright woman. Anyway, he's not a very bright man either. And so his big issue, just answer one question. Is a Palestinian life worth the same as a Jewish life? And she's not capable of answering the question. I'd answer the question. Mm-hmm. Hell no. There's no such thing as a Palestinian. So since there's no such thing as a Palestinian, then they aren't the same. But by the way, there's no such thing as a Jew either. So here we go. Now, if you want to deal with correct terms, is the life of a Yisraelite worth the same as the life of a Muslim? Well, then to answer that question, you will find the answer in the Quran. And the Quran says that a Muslim does not have the rights to their own lives, that those lives are given to Allah, and that all Muslims must die killing for Allah. So an Islamic life is worth nothing to the Islamic God or to the Islamic religion. So that's your answer. Is a Muslim life worth the same as a Israelite life? No. Read the Torah. The Torah values the lives of the chosen people. And the
Yahud
Quran
are beloved.
devalues the lives of Muslims. So here's Morgan. All you really have to do is to read both books. Go to Yahowah.com. You wouldn't be a fool. And you would know that, A, there is no such thing as a Palestinian. B, there's actually no such thing as a Jew. And lives are of different value. They are not all the same, because Israelite is chosen by Yahweh. He values them. And a Muslim is the slave of Allah, and he devalues them. So there you go. Answer to your question. By the way, he couldn't refute that. No, he's not going to have me on his show, though.
No, he's not. Would you go? Really? Would you even go?
Would I show up there? No. Would I do a remote? From the library studio and answer his questions? Sure. Yeah, I made a deal a long time ago for programs that I would go and show up anywhere, because I'm not afraid of anybody under any circumstance. Sure. I don't give a hoot who they are. I'm going to tell the truth. I know the subject better than anybody that is coming against me is going to know the material far less well than I do. I mean, there's nobody who knows Islam better than I do, and that would include every imam. There's nobody that knows the faulty nature of Christianity better than I do, and that would include every pastor and priest and Christian scholar. There is nobody that understands the nature of this piece of shit better than I do. So no, I've spent 25 years of my life positioning myself, educating myself to be able to do what's going to be asked of me 3 years from now. Stand up before
take on all comers.
Take on all comers. So I've always taken that approach, is that no, I'm not afraid of anybody. So this is how did a felon who declared bankruptcy 6 times, they go all through it. So, and you say, how did he become president? How did a scum that has a 14-year-old girl have written testimony that the FBI has interviewed her, where she said, yes, Donald Trump raped me? A man whose name is listed in the Epstein files over 2,000 times. A man who has got 34 felony convictions. A man who has been accused by 14 women of sexual assault and has been convicted of rape. Who has 6 bankruptcies. How does that get voted in as president of the United States? What does it say about democracy? What does it say about the quality of the people voting?
Right.
Yeah.
And he wants to say the elections are rigged.
Yeah.
Does an idiot get?
But I would go back and say you want to understand how it's possible for people to be that ignorant, immoral, and irrational to vote for this piece of shit. Then I would question, how did 2.5 billion people come to believe that a man who never lived was a god who was killed by men?
Yeah.
If you can explain that one to me, then I'll explain the other one to you.
If you lie big enough, more people will believe it.
Big enough, often enough, yeah. Wrap your lie in things that make people feel good. They will believe you. Look at what Paul wrote. I mean, utter rubbish, a demon-possessed man. And yet they believe me. You got 2 billion people who believe Muhammad and Allah and the Quran, and it's the worst book ever written. It's amazing how easy it is to fool lots of people if it's religious or political. Yeah, this is interesting.
Where are the starving Arab children? Where are they?
Yeah, where are they now? So the UN, UNICEF, did a study of malnourished children under 5 years old throughout the Middle East. What they found is they're the fewest by percentage of population in Gaza than any place else. In Egypt, it's much worse. It's much worse throughout the Islamic controlled countries than it is in Gaza. But that isn't the thing that I think is humorous or sad about this. What's really sad about this is for Israel to be played into a response to 10/7 of 23, such that they're forced into the position where they must feed their enemy. You think you won the war because you destroyed Gaza, and yet you've been played into a situation where you must feed your enemy. And while you're feeding those who want to kill you, the world is condemning you for not killing, for I don't know, for imaginary genocide, while you're providing copious amounts of food for the people that are committed to your destruction. It's one of the dumbest things you've ever can imagine, that Israel could be celebrating this and not know that they've been played for fools.
Yeah. Three places on that map are green. Two of them are in conflict with Israel. Lebanon, of all places, is green, 1 to 3%. Okay, same as a NATO ally, Turkey, right? And what's the correlation? Israel. They're man, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy that Israel is in a position where they're literally forced to feed those that are committed to killing them. And they think they won that war.
Yeah. Giuliani is invited to the White House, the new Grand Poobah of Syria, and they're starving. And they're starving.
Yes. The Islamic State looks at children as future jihadists, but only so long as they are Shia and not, or excuse me, Sunni and not Shia. The Islamic State, of course, is a Sunni Islamic terrorist organization, not a Shiite Islamic terrorist organization. So there you go. This fool. Sometimes you just run out of words. This fool is on the Trump Topical network, and he is extolling the great virtues of Donald Trump's ethics. You got a man who lies because he knows nothing else, who just admitted that he went to war against Venezuela so he could steal their oil, that he went to war against Iran so he could steal their oil, that the very people who correctly reported on his cabinet meeting about him being traitorous and destroying America's ability to defend itself are leakers and need to go to jail. And this is the man who you say has ethics. How could you be that stupid? I mean, really. I mean, that's. I'm just dumbfounded that he could be that stupid, and they would actually say such stuff on listen, your guy's Satan. He is demonic. He contradicts himself and egregious lies one sentence to the next. He's a train wreck. You know, if that's your idea of a great leader, then hell, you know, you'd have loved Hitler and Stalin. But own it. Okay, our POTUS is a piece of shit, but we think that the Marxist cackles would have been worse. So we're going to stick with our piece of shit because we don't like the Marxist cackles or whoever else the Democrats are going to run. So we'd prefer a lying piece of shit that is satanic to a communist. Just own it. But don't pretend that it's ethical.
Well, ethics in politics is the opposite ends of the spectrum anyway. You have these guys, the so-called Congressional Ethics Committee, the Senate Ethics Committee, that whenever a senator has a bad story come out, that he goes, you know, it's like when some famous alcoholic goes to the Betty Ford, you know, they do something stupid. Oh, well, it's alcoholism. They're getting help. The Ethics Committee does nothing. They have no ethics.
Yeah. Can you imagine though being South Carolina, and you elected the devil's advocate and Lindsey Graham, a man who is responsible for the deaths of millions of people. And you also have this idiot who says that Trump is ethical.
and you hold them up as ethical standards that these are
the
our
whole
leaders.
state of
Yes.
South Carolina have a lobotomy? Were they handing out lobotomies like lollipops in South Carolina? What happened to you?
Yeah. The fire can't come soon enough, man. For these people to have this idea that they're, I mean, Epstein files, pedophilia, rape, convicted, that's it. The money laundering, okay, and for them to think that this is our leader and someone we want to be the one that leads us in ethics.
Your ethical man just had 300 bank accounts closed because he was money laundering.
Oh, he literally says
and the money
most
that's
ethical.
Right. Yes, and the money that's being stolen from Venezuela is going into Trump bank accounts in Qatar. Ethical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
man who is selling $100,000 passes to get insider trading on when I'm going to pull the lever for pause the war in Iran, accelerate the war in Iran, so you can do your insider trading. Yeah, that's your guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we call ethics.
The guy that has 14 women who have accused him of sexual assault. One who has actually gone to trial and convicted him of sexual assault. The man who lost every lawsuit that he was up against, lost them all, and is a 34-time convicted felon. And that's your bastion of clarity and ethics.
He would be in federal prison if he wasn't president of the United States. Say that out loud for a second.
Yes, that is correct. He
had he
not grifted and bribed and blackmailed Elon Musk into 300 million large in the last few weeks in the 7 battleground states, he would have been in prison because the case against him on January 6th, where everyone had lost and gone to prison, and he was the ringleader, it was certain he would have gone to prison because of the magnitude of the document theft that took place in Mar-a-Lago. And he had confessed to the crime of rigging the election in the Georgia case, and there was nothing you could do to overturn that. That was also, so he would have had 3 concurrent long-term prison stays had he not been elected by shaking down Elon Musk for 300 million. So that's your guy. MAGA, you should be so proud.
Yes.
Tim hey, but you kept cackles out of the White House, so,
in history.
There you go. Oh, I voted for that. No, I didn't. You did, maybe. I didn't. Yeah, in this case, Iran and China have now announced that in addition to the proclamation yesterday by Putin, where it says that the BRICS nations now have authorized their blockchain currency that is 40% backed by gold and 60% backed by the currencies of the original 5 founding nations of BRICS. To replace the dollar as a reserve currency in the world, and that they will not weaponize it, nor will they grossly inflate it and destroying the value of it, nor will they confiscate other people's monies, nor will they dictate that you either kowtow to us or we take you out of the system. That they have now a much more stable, much more advanced replacement for the dollar. And it is underscored by the industrial engine of the world now in China. And so now you have on top of that today's announcement by Iran, after they have negotiated their deal with Oman for control of the Strait of Hormuz. Per, by the way, the memorandum of understanding that Donald Trump signed, it has a provision that the Iranians and the Omanis would negotiate how they were going to control the Strait of Hormuz. They have now done so. They have come out and said that a ship that has anything to do with the United States or Israel will no longer be granted any right to pass. Those who have been enemies of Iran and have perpetrated this war against Iran are going to have very large fees placed on their cargo on the range of 20%. And they've also said that all transactions that are taxed and allowed to proceed through the Strait of Hormuz will be settled in Chinese yuan.
Mm-hmm.
Petrodollar is done. So Trump didn't just lose a war. He lost America. That's what happened, MAGA. You avoided communism by not having Cackles in the White House. Although I'm not sure Cackles was any more communist than Obama. Obama was certainly a Marxist, and that was a rotten shame. And Cackles was a stupid Marxist, where Obama was a smart Marxist. So you avoided Cackles. And instead, you destroyed America.
Yeah, the buried in the middle here is Japanese investors dumping treasuries. Japan over the last week has been having some serious financial issues over there with them trying to prop up their market.
Yeah, the United States, which is bankrupt, actually went and bought Japanese bonds to try to shore up the Japanese economy. So we sent money that we didn't have to buy their bonds because they're shorting and selling our bonds. And so is the whole world. No one will buy U.S. Treasuries. So the only way that America creates this illusion of solvency is to inflate the currency, to create the illusion of money through quantitative easing, and to use fake money to fund the debt. But when you do that, all you're doing is destroying the value of your currency. That's why, $100 and 1950s currency is worth $1 today. Or said another way, it takes $100 today to buy what you could buy for $100 in 1950.
Yeah, I don't think that the United States is going to be paying those $1 billion, hundreds of $1 billion of reparations to the to Iran in dollars. They're only going to be taking BRICS coin now. They're only going to be taking their,
Yeah, I think at this point the Iranians would accept dollars and they would dump the dollars. And so what if they took a loss on 300 billion? The relief of the sanctions, the return of the 25 billion in stolen assets. It's just the taxation on transit in the Strait of Hormuz is worth $150 billion to them a year. And it'll be in a gold-backed currency. So they're not going to have a problem of worthless dollars. No, that's not so much the case for Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Qatar. They do have that problem. Japan's trying to work its way out of that problem, but Japan's debt is so far greater than the rest of the world's. It's really laughable what Japan has done to itself. And I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but it's like the United States overall debt at $40 trillion is 1.75 times annual GDP. If you get up to 70 or 80% of GDP, you're screwed, you're bankrupt, and America's twice that. But Japan is in the range of 300 to 400% of GDP. So rather than 1.5 times, 1.7 times debt to GDP, Japan is 3 to 4 times debt to GDP. It's just laughable how bankrupt they've made that country. Now, they will say that in their case, they owe the debt to it's Japanese companies and Japanese citizens that have bought that debt, and therefore they're not going to crater their own country in shorting that debt. So they're in a little bit better position, even though what they have done is bankrupt the country because somebody has to pay interest on that debt. In the case of the United States, U.S. couldn't find corporations or people willing to buy U.S. treasuries anymore. So the U.S. takes the approach of, no, we just create the illusion of money to service the debt, which has the direct effect of destroying the currency.
Yeah.
You know, ultimately, we're going to have runaway inflation in America.
I was just referring to the so-called pallets of cash. Whenever Obama was giving Iran pallets of cash, right? It was in Deutschmarks and Swiss francs. That's what the pictures of the palace.
Yeah, I guess so. That there was lots of other currencies that were involved with that. What was it, $1.5 billion or something like that?
Right.
Versus Trump's MOU, which was $325 billion. And Trump likes to say that Obama he couldn't negotiate. It's the worst deal ever. And Trump's deal is 10,000 times worse. He got Obama had restrictions. There are no restrictions in Trump's deal, and Obama paid $1.5 billion for those restrictions, which were tight. And Trump's paying $325 billion for no restrictions. But the art of the deal, you know.
The art of the deal. Now this one's pretty good.
Yeah. So we have the new hair care, Trumpian hair care products for goatish hair care. You should be able to weave.
They said it couldn't be done. But look at this. Incredible growth. Incredible.
My God.
Everyone's talking about it. The best hair, maybe ever. Make hair great again.
We got to laugh at something, right?
At least it distracts from Iran. At least it distracts from the Epstein files. I mean, Idiocracy, the movie Idiocracy, was not a documentary. People, this was not a. It was not a. It was supposed to be satire.
It's supposed to be satire. You really should not have elected the village idiot.
Oh yes.
Yes. But, you know, that's the nature. Everybody is stupid today. What are you going to do? Oh, wow. Eyeliner boy with 5 different names. He has really got himself into a pickle. There is nobody that would trust Eyeliner boy as far as you could throw them. So finally he has an interview and is saying, you know, if you said that the Iranians were so easy to defeat, and you defeated them this way, that way, and every which way, and you had an agreement, and they're begging for an agreement. You know, why is this war continuing to go on? And he says, well, the Iranians are really tough people, man. They are. Boy, they are extraordinarily difficult people. So what part of that couldn't you have figured out before you went to war with them the second time? I mean, seriously, what is it that has you now making the statement that these people you've tried to negotiate with, you're calling them difficult? And by the way, the intelligence level between Arachi and J.D. Vance has got to be 1,000 to 1. Maybe it's a slight exaggeration because Vance has an IQ that is probably above 10, and Arachi's is probably below 150. So it's really 15 to 1, but it is a geometric scale on IQ. So maybe I'm right on the actual difference because it is a geometric scale. Nevertheless, it isn't the Iranians who are difficult here. It's that the United States makes a deal and then goes to hammer out the details on that deal and reneges on every point of the deal. And then the United States says, we have a deal, and they will even acknowledge what they have a deal on, and then we'll say, no, we don't agree to any of that. Then the United States will sign a deal and renege on every aspect of that deal within 48 hours, and then blame the other side for that. So if you want to say that's difficult, then well, I guess that is difficult. Yeah, it's just amazing. You got people so difficult, they won't roll over and play dead when you're bombing them. You know, imagine that. Somebody that says, you know, I really appreciate you bombing me. You knocked some sense into me. And, you know, what we really needed was a few more bombs, take out our bridges, take out our power plants, talk nasty to us. And that brought us right to our senses. Kill our leaders, kill our children, and that really did it to us. We recognize you are right in killing our children and our leaders and taking out our bridges and our refineries and our power grids. And so we're going to capitulate to you. You are morally superior to us.
No, they're only difficult because we are delusional. We thought that we could roll in and bomb for a weekend and they would just be shock and awe. That is the problem. That is what they said. They were going to do this for less than a week, and the regime would crumble, and Iran would beg for a way out. That they would give up all of their uranium. They would roll over and play dead with a week's worth of bombing. And what had happened is, after a week's worth of bombing, there was nothing left of America's bases and nothing left of America's stockpile of missiles or interceptors, and nothing left of America's credibility. You shredded it, eyeliner boy, with 5 names. Absolute delusion.
So here, mere scum. He went in full McGillicuddy. I will never, ever listen to him again. I may turn on and Judge Napolitano. He's a piece of shit too. I may click on a YouTube podcast long enough to click the down arrow, but other than that, never again. You can both shut up and go to hell. You cast your lot in with the other Marxist Muslims that are Jew-hating anti-Semites on X, Facebook, and YouTube. I will never listen to you again. He is in this, just absolutely vomits all over himself in Jew hate. Never again. I'm done. You're not credible. You destroyed your credibility. I don't care what you have to say. You could actually be right about the Ukraine, and it doesn't matter anymore because you destroyed your credibility by blaming Israel for all of your aches and pains. I don't know what Jew ever did something nasty to you, but you have become scum. And I just assume that it's because you can't be popular on any social media platform unless you vomit all over God's people. You're not fooling anybody anymore. Mere shit. So here again, perhaps Putin's approach was to exhaust Iran, to exhaust the US, the EU, and NATO, run them all out of interceptors and ballistic missiles, such that victory comes without the loss of too many Russian lives. And if so, then he's going to need to keep up this campaign. He's not going to have been able to do it 2 nights and the momentum shift. He's going to have to do it the rest of the summer. And he's going to have to continue to move west. He's going to have to capture each of those 4 cities along the front. And he's going to have to essentially control Odessa. If he can do that while continuing to rain fire all around Kyiv, then that strategy may work, because it will certainly prove to Europe that they have no chance against Russia. And, discouraging them may be enough. Yeah, just to say here, these are the targeting films of Odessa being destroyed. And, what I would say is to all of those who have been bragging, and it's just all over social media, that the Russians were not making any progress. The Russians were being creamed. The Ukrainians were taking it to the Russians. It's over for Putin. Sorry. You're just wrong. You lost. All of you who've been bragging about the Ukraine, suck it up. You just lost, and it's over. So What are you going to do now? What are you going to champion now? You started a war, you lost the war. You started a war in Iran, you lost the war. What are you going to brag about now? You know, you started a war with the Houthis, you lost it. You started a war with the Taliban, you lost it. And, I mean, you can't beat the Taliban and the Houthis. Mm-hmm. And you think you're going to beat the Russians and the Iranians? Somebody's not thinking.
Yeah. Delusional, believing your own press.
Yeah, Operation Epic Failure. You know, they got the gold medallion behind Trump's head here of the eagle because you got to have the Fourth Reich. But you know what Trump's looking at on the other side? There's one of these in the whole room, directly facing Trump, that he looks into, and his cabinet room.
Mirror. A mirror.
It's a mirror. There's one of them in the room.
Can he see his own reflection? Does it?
Yep, he absolutely can.
Not a vampire.
Yep, not a vampire.
Okay,
yeah, he's
okay.
not a vampire. Yep.
All right.
Yep, Iran will be just. Yeah, Pete Heggs. This will be just a matter of a few days of war. Iran will be destroyed within a few weeks. Our military strength is strong enough. We'll crush them. We beat their navy. We beat their air force. All their ships are at the bottom of the sea. They got no launchers left. It's over. The regime will crumble. So now, what, 6 months later, what do you got?
Mm-hmm.
The defeat of the United States.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, I have the greatest hair of them all, huh?
I know. Boy, it's gone from white there to now yellow in the comb over, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, he went from white to yellow.
You know, and it's really difficult. I don't see a lot of like live shots, you know, like on TV or whatever of him to really know what he looks like now, because there's so much AI of him, you know, that, and he's such a easily recognizable type of person, but to really know what he truly looks like, because there's this constant blur between, you know, AI and him, you know.
And there's so many old pictures of him, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And before every press conference in the Oval Office, he goes into wardrobe and makeup. You know, I do, too. My wardrobe and makeup is I go to the hanger in the closet and say, all right, I haven't worn that shirt in a while. I'll put that one on. And then makeup is you splash some water on your face and a little on the hair so that when the breeze blows the other way, you know, it look like a, you know, I don't want to look like Trump when I have the whole thing blow. I don't have any comb over here. There's nothing here other than the real hair. But, you know, it's water and a shirt. This is wardrobe.
Well, on haircut days, you do get a little bit of zhuzh, because she was really going over you after haircut day before we went on. I mean, she was putting everything in the place like girls do. And
she did. Yeah, she did at haircut day, because I never use a blow dryer. I don't. You know, water and a comb is my thing. So she on haircut day. Yeah, and you know, she's a pretty girl, and I you know, being futzed over by pretty woman is who you have you know, privileges with and a relationship with. It's always nice. So I'll. It was early morning. I'd sit there, wear a smile, and she says, "Now I want you in here in the bathroom. We're going to do a blow job on you. I mean, a blow dry on you, something like that, anyway." And so she decided she's going to use this, and she took her, you know, her girly brush, and she fluffed it all up, and she says, "Oh yeah, I love that." So she was saying, "Oh man, look at the volume, look at this is really good." So when I got to the about an hour later or 2 hours later, we had the blog on the blog, and I'm sitting down there, and she's all upset that it's not all fluffed up, because you know, I must have done my normal thing, you know, water on the hands and push the hair back, and she was trying to fluff it all back up
to revolumize. Yes,
yeah, revolumize it. Yeah, actually, I think, you know, the thing that's happened in the last year is I have gone from almost no gray in my hair. I had little traces of gray in the sideburns and, you know, little traces of gray here in the beard, but I didn't have any gray in my hair. And in the last year, the more we have learned that Yahweh is expecting from us. The hairs are definitely, I mean, right now it's probably 1/3 gray and 1/3 still dark.
A fifth, I'd give you, but there's
Okay,
just
maybe
streaks,
it's a fifth.
So
Yeah, it's a fifth, but it's now clearly there's lots of gray in it. It's definitely been a lot of stress here, and it's stress of, oh my God, did he really say that? I mean, come on, this is way beyond the what should be expected of a person to perform at that level, and you're asking somebody to do something that you didn't even want to do, and so they definitely sprouting some gray hairs these days.
what kind of pressure is it that when Yahweh feels pressure, he sends his guy in so that he doesn't have to feel
his
pressure
fixer.
anymore?
His fixer
So
and
what kind
finisher.
of pressure is that on the guy, right? I mean, the pressure that guy would.
Oh, I was reading, Isaiah 10, which explains. We did Isaiah 10 that explains Isaiah 11, which is the Towrah, explains how the Towrah is going to operate, where and when and how. But what I did not perceive initially is the same thing is true with Isaiah 63, which explains how the man from Edom is going to save many and how he is the Zarowa, and that literally Israel is saved as a result of this man's cooperation with Yahweh and adhering to the playbook that has been articulated through Yasha'yah Isaiah. What I did not know is that Isaiah 62 is the prelude to that, and it tells you exactly who he is. And in the opening lines of it, Yahweh goes so far as to say, when I deployed this guy, I could finally rest. But I had no rest and no satisfaction until I deployed him. Then once I deployed him, hey, man, it was all comfortable. I could sit back and rest. You're going, God, what are you saying here? I mean, no, that's not reasonable. No, you can't put that much pressure on somebody that said, I deployed them and I was so comfortable that knowing that they were going to do as I wanted and finish the job that now I can rest and relax. No, that's not going to work.
Right.
Now, the ball's in your court. You'll be fine, young man.
Oh yeah, the ball's in your court. We've played this game before. You did just fine previously. I know you're going to do fine this time. By the way, I peaked. It ends up good.
Peaked.
You read that kind of stuff and you say, no, you can't do that. And then you read and he says, okay, well, there's all two redeemers, and it was one thing to say that Dod is the redeemer and we redeem the redeemer, but then to say there are two redeemers is a whole nother story. I mean, that's upping the ante. And then in this, he has the audacity to say that this guy that he is comfortable deploying is a savior, and you're going, no, come on, that's tall cotton. Let's not go there. But that's where he went, and you're saying, and then he calls them the Nakar, and he calls them the Zarowa, and he calls them the final witness, and he calls them the flaming torch, and he calls them the blazing sword, and he just says, okay, and you finally say, God. How many gray hairs am I going to have before we get this done? Am I going to have any hair left by the time we get this done? I know it's fashionable to be bald, but the way we're going, I'm going to be gray and then bald.
333 more days, I think, and then you can have your hair any color you want.
Okay, well, that's when we get our working vacation. Yeah, but one of the things that I just read about the return, man, I've been dreading the return because 1,250 days on top of that wall. And God said, I'm sending my observant one. I'm putting him right on top of that wall, and he's going to talk to people. And then it tells everybody who's working with him, it says, don't let him ever stop. Not during the night, not during the day. He must never cease talking, never cease working, day and night. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun, right? 24/7, and a team working with him that's deployed with him has said, don't let him take a break.
It's a last push. It's a harvest. It's a teruah. Yes, so it's absolutely.
But
that's
now,
what we got.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 1,250 days.
That's the plan. That's what he's laid out for you.
That's the plan. That's why he says
you and Elia and your Amma are going to be extremely busy.
Oh my! Well, and
you're going to bring it home.
I'm sorry, but it talks about the team around him. So Suck it up, Buttercup.
Now, somebody's got to cook. Somebody's got to scroll. So everybody's got their own. Their own gig,
there's work. There is work for everybody. All right. Well, that's a good place for us to end. We will actually finish the Book of Ruth today during Family Hour. I understand we have a new song. It's not the graphics for people. She says that's backed up for some time. There's other priorities, but it's a beautiful song and graphics. I've seen some of the graphics. I've not seen it with our trans guy having done his transition thing, but that's probably been done now. So we're ready to play the song this evening, and we'll finish the Book of Ruth this evening, and look forward to that. And I know I will finish the Coming Home 4 over this weekend with the additions that are now in it. And we'll add the additional reviews of Coming Home 5 and 6. And we're getting really close to having 2,000 pages of new material in all 3 books ready to go. It's been a real interesting process. But the trouble is that, you read through them and you say, I want to make sure that, this is current, because what I wrote for these 9 months ago is not at the same level of understanding we have now, and you just constantly find yourself in this treadmill where you say, well, I've got to add that, and I got to add that, and I got to renew this, and well, then I got to go back and deal with that. And somewhere along the line we're just going to have to say, okay, you don't have to have complete understanding on page 1 of every book.
Right. It's a journey.
You can say things like Dode's we're celebrating Dode's 3 lives, knowing that it is true that Dode has 3 lives, because 3 is a subset of 6, without having to go into all 6 and let people know that there are actually 6 lives of Dode, not 3 lives of Dode, but 6 is 3 is a subset of 6, so it's not wrong. And sometimes we're
they'll
just going to have
get there just like
we
did as they read along. And
if they want to go back and say, wait a minute, you said 3 here and it's 6 there, which one's right? And the answer is yes.
Yes. Not to mention, when was the last time that you wrote 3 books in a year, 2,000 some odd pages in
simultaneously? Yes, 2,000 pages. They average 700 pages, these books. So that's a lot. And the first ones with superscripts, which are much harder to write and much more detailed, much more comprehensive translations, and much more adroitly crafted insights and conclusions. There's probably more insights in these 3 books than in any 15 books before them. So it's more than just 3 books. It's a lot. And my wife has me wanting to translate, everything under the sun. She's constantly giving it to Rich and said, you've got to talk him into doing this. And she handed me another note today. Here's the 8 things I needed. I need translated because, I need this. I'm going to have to say, I am sure that I'm going to find a job description under AMA that says translator.
Yeah. She is constantly saying, I'm the one running ahead with scissors. And yes, she is.
Yes. And I reminded her this morning when she was doing all this, I said, it was about about a year ago that you waltzed in here with the 31st Mashal. And it has now become these 3 books. It has become the dominant factor in what we're learning about Yahowah, about how he went about authenticating and enabling his entire plan. You get one of these a year, and you're with your little Post-it notes. Now you're coming with one every other day. No, you get one of these a year, because it might be fun for you to run ahead with the scissors, but I'm trying to stitch all this together. And it's all got to fit together, and it all has to be reinforced and lead to something that is useful, because just finding an interesting connection doesn't do you any good unless you can explain how that connection has meaning with the covenant family at this time, or for the remnant at this time. And if you can't make that connection, and interweave it into the entire story, then it's just a distraction. It may be marvelous for
Bit
you
of trivia.
to trace through who the lilies are that decorate the columns that are Yahweh's temple. But at this point, I need to tell people why Boaz's name is on one of them and what Yakin actually means, because nobody knows really what Yemen and Yakin actually mean. One is he establishes, the other one is right hand, and yet there's no indication that either of those definitions would be correct. So right now I've got other things to need to deal with to understand, because it's rather important. If there's one name on Yahweh's house and it's not Yahweh's, why is that man's name there?
Right.
I mean, that's got to be on a 1 to 10 scale, like a 9.9 of importance to understand why God wanted that name there. And so I'm going to tackle that. And it happens to be, right in the middle of the Ruwth story. And woven all the way through. In fact, the passage I just translated has Boaz in it. And Boaz is the Zarowa. And then you can't mention that with saying, but it's not a name that's on the other column. What does it represent? And why is Yemen become all of a sudden with the Kaf? So you've got a Yod, a Kof, which is an open hand, so a palm of a hand. So you've got 3 hands and a none. Well, what do we have here? So trying to understand it, it's just nothing can be left undone.
Right.
There's too much at stake here. Everything must be tied up, explained, supported, and then made relevant in people's lives. We had an incident the other day where I had shared that somebody was pursuing something that was conspiratorial pursuant to Benghazi, and saying that we ought to spend more time lambasting Obama than Trump because of Benghazi. And you heard my response, which is that anytime somebody mentions Benghazi, they're delving into that conspiracy where the right-wing wackos wanted to assail Hillary for her State Department blunders. And my view was that the issue of Benghazi had nothing to do with that. It had to do with the United States perpetrating regime change on a fellow that wanted to save Africa from the control of America's petrodollar system. And that's the bigger story, not what happened in Benghazi. It's in an aftermath of America's larger blunder. And we assailed Obama every day on shattering myths, and also Hillary Clinton. When they were in power, they're not in power anymore, and you happen to have Satan in the White House, so that's important. So my whole point was, I'm not going to play with distractions. And if you want to be part of a distraction here in the midst of this, and think that as a person who has made no contribution at all to the covenant family, that you're going to infuse it with distractions, I'm here to tell you, we got too much to accomplish to allow you to do that. Go away. And so she took another 2 swipes at Leah, and I blocked her. I just said, nope, you're gone. So you'll see
I
that
think
there's...
you need to flip the script on Leah a little bit and say that you now as Yada are going to go ask Ruwth. I have a question about, if you're going to bring these passages to me and these things that you want to know, that you were there too.
You were there too.
You're perfectly capable of doing the translating.
Yes.
Yes, so you need to flip the script a little bit. So I am coming and asking Ruwth now. So
Yeah. Now I will tell you that she uses Q Bible, which has a really nice interlinear and a lookup capability, but it's basically only Strong's, and when you only have one lexicon, it's like the guy with one clock, and you're absolutely sure you've got the answer. But if you had 3 clocks, you would know that you don't have the answer, and so that's its weakness. But she uses it, probably 5, 6, 7 hours a day. So she really likes pursuing all of these things. But translating is not the hardest part.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest part is understanding how the whole statement fits together in context, where it has come from and where it is leading, and what those words, which are all symbols, they're all very valuable jewels and tools that God is using to communicate, how those tools, how those jewels paint a picture. And that's the challenging part. And then to be very disciplined and examining particularly how the verb was conjugated, so that you're not doing what almost everybody does, where they will apply a subject and an object that just do not fit the context. And you have to just go back and be very disciplined as who is speaking to whom, what is the stem that is being used? Is there a volitional mood that is being conveyed here? And what do those words actually symbolize in this particular context? And where have we come from? Where are we going to?
The difference between Ruth, or that's the difference between Naomi nursing a Gaal and then being nursed by a Gaal, nursed back by a,
the difference in being the Gaal and saying, I understand the sacrifice that is required to perform in this way, and I'm willing to pay that price. In the case of Ruth, there is no law in Israel, or no Torah instruction in Israel that says that the widow of a man is tied to the property and is a gift with purchase on that property. He tied her to the property because it would have been vulgar for him to say, I am buying you. So as a Gaal redeemer, he has to pay a price. So he can pay a price for property, and he attached her to that property. And the property was in Bethlehem, and it was a property that yielded barley for barley and wheat harvest. So it tied into the Torah's Moedim. He equated her to that so that he could then demonstrate what the cost was of a Gaal, where a Gaal is not a savior that says, I save you. No, a Gaal says, I'll go and pay your penalty. I'll go pay the price to ransom. Yeah. And so that's the reason why that was there. And you have to take the time to understand the nuances of it if you're going to share it in a way that can be taught and that people can learn from. There was a person that told their story the other day in our chat that was saying that they thought that Yahweh's name was Yahweh, and Yahweh, and that they had spent a decade trying to equate or to share with people that God actually has a name, and it's not Jesus, and it's not the Lord, and they said, I must have read the Torah 100 times, and then I was searching one day for things, and I came to a site that linked to Yahweh, and I started reading these books, and I realized, well, he really does explain why it has to be Yahweh. It's hard to argue with that. I'm going to start using. He just went immediately, says, yes, he's right. He's made the case. It is Yahweh. And then he says, wow, the teaching here is extraordinary. Oh man, this man really does know the Torah. And I thought I knew the Torah, but he says, this man really knows the Torah. And he said, so I started reading, and now, I'm equipped to be able to be a really effective witness. I think that is incumbent upon Leah in this particular case, because she is very insightful. The songs that she writes, there's so many nuances in those songs. She knows it inside. She really has a grasp of it and great knowledge of Torah. We've gone now almost 20 years of exchanging detailed messages on the Torah. But at some point, when you're in this mode, you can't be reliant. Now, she came in this morning. She was very, very clever. It says, didn't when we left the garden, didn't it say that it's man's responsibility to teach and to guide and lead the woman, and the woman's is supposed to benefit from the man in this way? I said, yes. Where are you going with this, sweetheart?
Yeah.
And yeah, and so she said, well, here, the things that I want you to translate for me. I need to know. Yeah, but we're going to, and she comes to you and comes to Rich and say, yeah, we're going to get him to do that. But he's got a lot on his plate, I'll tell you that. And pretty focused. He's going to get that done. And I don't want to discourage her. So we're going to find a way to get her into the translating mode. The thing that works so well for me is such a marvelous tool is Logos. And I've now used Logos for 20 years. And the reason I just like Logos is it with the series that I have and what I've put into it, I have 20 linked lexicons. And one of those linked lexicons is one you cannot access online. It's the Dictionary of Biblical Languages, and it's vastly superior to any other. I mean, it's vastly, overwhelmingly superior to any other. And it's even good for synonyms, because you're going to write, you can't say the same word over and over again. You sound really stupid when you do. And so if you're going to have an amplified translation, synonyms are really important to have and that are linked to those words. And it does a marvelous job. But if you're also using it with an interlinear, then each word is properly identified with its stem, its conjugation, its mood. And you learn the parts of speech, and in each verb is associated with a subject, and whether the subject is masculine or feminine, singular or plural, first person, second person, third person, and then you have an object, and it will be masculine or feminine, and plural or singular. That structure becomes really important, and it's all made relevant for you. Now, you do this long enough, you don't actually need any link to a definition, and you don't need any link to explain, what's the difference in the peel and the niffle and the coal and the hopeful. You just know what the stems do, and the difference between the imperfect and the perfect, and the participle and the infinitive, and when how they're used and what they represent. But it doesn't take that much effort to acquaint yourself with these things, and they're important to know. They shape the language that we're going to be using for the next trillion years. So why not become familiar with them? So I just think it is such an extraordinary thing to, and I would recommend everybody to buy Strong's. Now, it's not cheap. It's expensive. And there are people in our community, like, for example, yourself, you're working enormous number of hours doing things that nobody else can do, then you do them extremely well. And if you added translating on top of that, you'd be counterproductive, because you'd wear yourself out. So it's just not appropriate. Plus the fact you read everything that we write anyway, so you're up to speed with it. Not everybody needs to be translating. I think Leah does. I think it'd be in her interest. I think it'd be in her interest to do it.
Think of how much easier it would be, as opposed to her coming with a rounded out, absolute idea, story, and hey, check my work, as opposed to, you translate this and then I'll fill in the blanks of what I'm going with before.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things too is that she does a very nice job now of never coming with something unattested or out of context. She sees a word that she wants to understand, and maybe it's because of all of our interactions, but if lilies, for example, and who they represent and why God chose them, she'll do her homework, and she'll know that that it was God himself that says, I want you to put those lilies here. And then she'll see what they represent, and she will come with a full arsenal of understanding of why these things were there. But if you're the one that's doing the translating, and you're the one that's making the connections to figure things out, then you actually own the material.
Yes.
You can support it. You can become a teacher of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's exceedingly valuable, particularly with her responsibilities going forward. So we'll see if we can prevail in making that happen. But anyway, thank you for doing this. I'm glad we had a show out here. I was looking forward to getting out of the library. As you know, libraryophobia is a very real thing.
Solid stream, Rich. Solid
stream the whole time. Now that the sun has gone further to the west here, I'm not looking a total black-faced while the scene is not blown out behind us. You actually have some scene there.
Looks good.
We were going to put up the other camera and just taunt you with this is our neighborhood. But Rich says, no, we're not gonna do that. And I said, oh, why not? It'd be fun. But anyway, it's a beautiful day, and the sky is actually gorgeous. If we weren't using this little camera here, and we had one of the better AI cameras with the big lenses focused, I would tell you the outdoor scene right now is absolutely gorgeous around us. So what is Rich trying to do with his camera? There's my seat that's the place where I've been relegated now to doing all of my translations. Oh yeah, these are all he just skimmed back our
as
whole,
far as it goes. It won't get me where I want.
Our whole wall of cameras, and he was afraid that if he brought one of the pictures of those multiple cameras there, that he would lose some part of this feed. But yeah, there's where we are. Yeah, we're thinking right now about getting another a second or a third Starlink, interconnecting things and seeing if we can get a more stabilized uplink. But today seemed to work pretty darn well.
Yep, little buffering at the beginning, and I had to restart my phone once, but I've left it on the blue channel, and it made it through the whole show.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you. We like Blue Channel, and genuine pleasure to be able to deliver the vlog on the vlog. I know it's tough times, and it'll be tough times for Israel. We'll update you on the state of affairs come Monday, and tonight, 6:00, Family Hour, a new song from Leah. I understand that Jeff has a new bit also from Kirk, but maybe they're going to postpone on that for another week since they're not on the rotation this time.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's a week off that they'll do that, and we're going to return and try to finish Ruwth. It's actually a naming convention as we go forward in Ruwth, but the names are absolutely fascinating. And the lessons we can learn from the names are useful to our situation now. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you later this evening, 6:00 Eastern Time, 6:00 Atlantic Time.
Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.